Hello, this is Kinya Embry. Today I'm going to be simulating some sensory motor integration techniques on my lovely volunteer Christian here. If you stick out your tongue for me, he does not have any weakness or swallowing issues today. Okay, you can close your mouth. So we're going to get started first with some labial facilitation inhibition points. The first one we're going to do would be for if he was hypotonic, which means he has low muscle tone. So what you would do to stimulate this would just do some rapid pressure points here, tapping around the mouth, and then you would do stretching to stimulate those muscles there. If he was hypertonic, we would do more pressure. So just a little bit more pressure around the mouth there to relax those muscles because they would already be too tense if he was hypertonic. The next one is to purse the lips. So I have a frozen glycerin swab here, and what I'm going to do is glide it around his orbiculus oris muscle in a clockwise direction. So this would be to encourage pursing of the lips, clockwise direction. And then you would just reverse the direction. So counterclockwise there. And then we would add strokes inward to increase shape on the sides. So I would just do some strokes there on the side to encourage him to purse those lips. And we could do it with a frozen swab as well. So we would do that there to encourage him to purse his lips. Okay, the next one is to retract the lips. So again, I'm going to get one of my frozen swabs, and I'm going to stroke 3 times across his lips from the stronger to his weaker side. So let's say that his right side is his stronger side. I would go 1, 2, 3, going from his stronger to his weaker side. 1, 2, 3. And then after that, I would do short inward strokes down and inward around his mouth and circular movement around the lips. So short strokes all the way around, just like that. Next, to stimulate unilateral weakness, I would again glide my frozen swab around the lips in a clockwise direction, and then use short repeated strokes away from the affected side. So I would go like this, gliding again in that clockwise direction, and then let's say that his left side is affected, so we would go like that, away from his weaker side. And this is to stimulate his zygotic muscle. The next sensorimotor integration technique would be to increase palatal reflex triggering. So I'm going to glide a frozen swab horizontally across the soft palate from his weaker side to his stronger side. And we're looking for a palatal lift with this technique. So Christian, can you open up for me? Wide and back. And we're going to glide across there and see his palate was lifting there. Going from his weaker to stronger side. So in that example, we'll say that his right side is his weaker side. So stick your tongue out again. We're going to go from the right to the left. Good. Alright, so next, to increase the palatal reflex trigger, we're going to move from anterior to posterior. So, and we're going to be on the nasal spine, as well as on the facial pillars to stimulate from the weaker side to the stronger side, and then down the center. And with this technique, again, we're looking for palatal reflex triggering. So I'm going to move anterior to posterior on the sides, and then down the nasal spine. So open up again. So back there. And he didn't have a palatal reflex there, but he doesn't have any swallowing difficulty, so it's okay. This actually won't help stimulate a swallow, but it would be helpful in bolus preparation. So if you had a client who did have some difficulty, this would be a good technique to help with the bolus preparation stage in the swallow. Okay, so our next technique is going to increase tongue base retraction. So I'm going to take another frozen swab across his bitter taste buds with firm pressure from the weaker to the stronger side. So let's say his right side is weak, and then just stick out your tongue, and we're going to go across those bitter taste buds, weaker to stronger side, to encourage tongue-based retraction. And this would be a good technique to help elicit a swallow in a potential client. Okay, Christian, so now I'm going to feel you swallow. So I'm just going to press my hand here, and can you just do a swallow for me? Alright, and that was good. So I felt it raising up and then going back down, normal swallow. So now I'm going to glide the frozen swab from the nasal spine down to the tip of the uvula, and then again feel for that swallow. And we should feel tongue-based retraction as well as a palatal lift. So open up for me. Alright, I'm going to go down the spine and then swallow for me. Okay, one more time. Okay. Alright, so the next technique is to increase lingual curling. So what I'm going to do is glide a frozen swab. I'm going to grab another one. So some of them may be melting. So I'm going to grab this other one. And I'm going to glide the frozen swab from back to front, so posterior to anterior, along your lingual midline. I will use a gauze here to depress your tongue and hold it out. And what we're looking for with this technique is we're looking for the tongue to curl up on the sides. So stick your tongue out for me. I'm going to hold just the tip of your tongue here. And, oops, sorry. Okay, that's coming off you. Let's just try with my gloved hand. Okay, I'm going to hold your tongue down, and I'm going to glide from back to front along the midline. So here, stick it out for me all the way. And as you can see, the sides are moving there, curling slightly. Good. Alright, so the next technique is to reduce elevation in the posterior tongue. So what I'm going to do is get one of my frozen swabs with lemon on it. And I'm going to do long, even strokes with a very light touch from both sides, moving towards the center. So I'm going to alternate from side to side, moving towards the center, and I'm not going to touch your lateral edges. So hold your tongue out again. And one, moving there to get to the middle. And we're looking for elevation of the back of the tongue. So hold your head back a little bit and let's see. And you can see there, it's lifting. Good job. Alright. The next one is to elongate and elevate the tongue tip. So there's two different ways that we can do this. The first way, I'm going to, again, glide along the lateral edges this time. So in the previous technique, I was avoiding the edges, but this time I'm going to glide along the edges using long, quick, even strokes, and I'm going to not touch the center this time. Then after that, I will touch the tip of the tongue and brush it upward with two short strokes. So this is how it looks. So I'm going to go here, 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 and then to there. And you saw the lift a little bit. So this is stimulating the transverse muscles. I'll do it one more time. So again, going along those lateral edges. Long, quick strokes, avoiding the center, and then two strokes on the tip. So here, 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 and then 1, 2. Good job. Alright, so the next way to do this is to glide along the lateral edges with long, rapid strokes. So 4 strokes, 2 on each side, on the edges, and then I'm going to do 5 to 7 short strokes along the tongue blade. Then I'm going to apply a little bit of pressure under the tip to encourage elevation. So it would look like this. 1, 2, then 3, 4, and we're looking for elevation there. So let's do that one more time. Okay, so the next one is to elevate the tongue tip. So I'm going to stroke upward on the underside of the tongue in the midline with my frozen swab, and then I'm going to do complete quick upward strokes from the frenum to the mid-elevated aspect. So that means I'm starting in the middle and then I'm going to the sides. So put your tongue tip up for me. Up as it'll go. Can you put your lip down? Okay. There. There you go. So that's a technique to use to elevate the tongue tip. And lastly, to reduce lingual deviation on protrusion, I'm going to do short rapid strokes on the weaker side and then the stronger edges of the tongue. I'm going to go down the edges and then diagonally across from the weaker side. So let's say that his right side is the weaker side. So this is what I would do. Stick your tongue out. Here, here, here. And if his right side is weaker, I'm going to go diagonally this way. So let's try one more time. So here, here. Away from that right weak side. You can stroke upward on the tip if you need to. So if this wasn't working, then I could stroke up on the tip there. To reduce lingual deviation. And that is all for the sensory motor techniques. Thank you, Christian. And we're done.